Cold weather warfare has always punished the unprepared far more ruthlessly than any enemy. During the Second World War, entire divisions fought in sub-zero temperatures, from the forests of the Ardennes to the snow-choked Soviet front. Soldiers who survived those nights didn't do it because of comfort. They did it because necessity forces creativity. Many of the most effective sleeping techniques never appeared in official manuals. They were learned the hard way, usually passed through whispers during night watches, or adopted from local civilians who had centuries of winter knowledge behind them. When you study these methods, you understand that survival is not about high-tech gear. It is about understanding terrain, heat loss, and how the human body interacts with frozen earth. These old battlefield tricks have become invaluable again for anyone who hikes, camps, or prepares for emergencies in cold regions. The most common struggle was conduction, the way the frozen ground pulled heat from the body faster than the cold air. Soldiers learned that the ground was the enemy long before the cold air ever was. When natural bedding was unavailable, they used whatever they carried to create distance from the soil. Their greatcoat became the first layer, then their pack, then spare clothing. Even a rifle wrapped in cloth was used as a spine support to keep the torso elevated. One practical application of this today is using your backpack as the primary insulation pad if you lose your sleeping mat. Placing it under your hips and torso reduces heat loss dramatically because these are the heaviest contact points with the ground. It is a method that has saved campers during unexpected winter storms and works exactly the way it did in 1943. On battlefields where trees were available, soldiers cut branches, brush, and even straw to build a makeshift bed platform. The trick was layering the materials thickly enough so that only the branches touched the ground, while the body rested on compressed foliage above. Even in deep snow, this created an insulating air pocket. The step-by-step process is simple. Collect dry brush. Snap it into manageable lengths, lay the stiffest pieces in a cross pattern for support, and pile softer foliage on top to create a mattress. Modern survivalists use the same principle when sleeping in winter forests, and it works even when the ground is frozen solid. If you're caught without gear, constructing this layer can be the difference between a cold night and a dangerous one. In extreme cold, troops sometimes warmed the soil itself. Heated rocks were buried shallowly under a thin layer of earth, creating a warm surface that radiated heat upward for hours. Soldiers in the Eastern Front used this whenever they found stones near fire positions. In practice today, this method involves heating several fist-sized rocks by a campfire, brushing away snow or ice, burying the stones, and covering them lightly with soil before lying down. It's important to ensure the stones are never wet to avoid cracking, and the soil layer is thick enough to prevent burns. This technique reduces overnight heat drainage, and, it was a real lifesaver in foxholes where insulation material was scarce. Any soldier lucky enough to have 2 ground sheets quickly discovered just how powerful the air gap between them could be. Laying one directly on the ground and suspending the second slightly above it, sometimes using sticks or spare gear, created a low-profile insulating chamber. Even a few centimetres was enough to trap warm air. Modern campers actually replicate this technique by layering emergency blankets or tarps. For example, one practical approach is laying a tarp on the snow, then placing branches or spare clothing between that tarp and a second sheet. The result is warmer than a single insulated pad, because the heat captured between layers resists the cold rising from the frozen soil. Troops learn to curl tightly with their knees toward their chest, a position that reduced exposed surface area and minimized heat loss. More interestingly, they built micro-shelters inside their larger shelter spaces. A simple method was creating a small alcove using packs, boots or crates to block wind drafts and redirect body heat back toward the sleeper. You know, you can apply this on modern winter nights by arranging your pack and spare gear around your head and torso to create a personal heat pocket. The body warms confined air quickly, making even a frigid tent more tolerable, really. In the coldest sectors, soldiers shared body heat. This wasn't done for comfort but necessity, especially when one soldier began showing signs of hypothermia. They slept back to back or rotated positions so the warmest soldier shifted toward the coldest at intervals. Well, in civilian use today, this is actually common practice among winter climbers or during emergencies. You see, when two people are inside a confined shelter, they can drastically reduce temperature loss. It's one of the oldest survival strategies known to man, and you know, World War II truly proved its irreplaceable value. Veterans knew sometimes just a few meters could make the difference between safe sleep and dangerous exposure. They avoided hollows where cold air pooled, stayed clear of shaded depressions, and, well, they favoured ground broken by roots or stones that naturally lifted them away from deep frost. Applying this today means, really, scanning the terrain for subtle advantages. Sleeping near the base of a tree, on a slight rise, or beside a windbreak can, honestly, raise ground temperature just enough to matter. Knowledge like this is part of the survival heritage that World War II left behind. Practical, raw, and, you know, earned through hardship. If you want more historically grounded survival methods like these, subscribe to Thermal Vault and share this guide with others who value real field-tested wisdom.